You've been to the doctor that Monday, so you were doing better.
Yeah, well, not too many people today.
I'm sure we'll get paid as like 3 or 4. I'll let Michael know.
How long have you been since you had one of these? Oh, like forever. Yeah, I think the last one was when you were right after he went in for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, and I tried to do it.
Yeah. And you did just fine.
Yeah.
I did all right.
Because your inclination would be to give yourself stability. Exactly.
I don't want to give him a heart attack.
My father went out and said, yes, he had, very. Yeah. Well, they're streaming in.
Yeah, right.
There's a good, yes, please. Yeah. There's a good chance that, Yowzer, you might win something. Which was start contact there. Yeah, don't forget to put your cards in the house box.
I don't feel swinging the club yesterday.
You know, it felt
Was it
really
awkward
good.
at first,
No,
or
that's what was really encouraging. I just went over there after teaching and doing some stuff. I went over there before I went home for lunch, and I just took my pitching wedge out, and I thought all I was going to do was just kind of just get the feel for it, and then that felt fine. So then I took it back a little bit farther, and that felt fine. So I ended up hitting my pitching wedge, not far, but like 75, 80 yards without falling down, which is what I was worried about because my balance is still not where it needs to be. And so I was really encouraged, and I videoed it and sent it to my brothers and sisters and posted it yesterday. And I swear my swing looks better. Because I think I'm just trying to go so slow and keep balance. I thought, hey, well, maybe there's something to this. Maybe I'll just start all over and learn how to play left-handed because everybody always told me since I'm naturally lefty. So I said, maybe I'll just start all over. And I said, no, but if I can just keep this nice tempo, that's great. That would be awesome. But anyway, it was really encouraging that the way I posted it was now we're getting somewhere. Done all these other things, but now I'm back hitting the golf ball. And so I went over yesterday afternoon. The Twilight League was last night that I usually play in, and so I went over and gave a rally cry to my regular guys on the team, and they were happy to see me. So that was nice. But it was all great. And they said, "Oh, you're ready to go?" I said, "Well, not exactly. I swung the club for about 5 minutes." And I got dizzy and lightheaded, and I said, "Okay, that's enough for today." And because that's what I was saying to Ned, it's really almost a stamina thing now versus obviously I got to get stronger, but the stamina. Once I've done something like this for an hour and done stuff, I kind of just have to shut it back down and recharge. And and that's what I was saying to Ned. Guillain-Barré does not like overdoing, and I think I've learned that. Which, by the way, I now know where the gym is.
The gym.
Yeah, because we went over to Circa the other day because they had some outdoor furniture that we wanted to buy for the front porch, and I went all the way through there and turned around. Oh, there's the gym. And there were guys out in the street lifting. The doors were open and everything, and there were guys. I guess it was around lunchtime, I guess. But anyway, that. You're not supposed to be here. No food. There's some peanut M&Ms. Sorry, I disappointed you that we don't have any breakfast goodies.
So is this where you work out?
Yeah.
Well, it's one of these kind of stripped down, but just a lot of free weights and stuff?
Pretty much, yeah. It's like a large garage gym almost.
Yeah. It's right, where Seagull Top is.
Yeah.
Go keep on going down that road, and it's on the right side, so it's sort of tucked in.
Yeah, I've never been.
It even has a landing dock.
Yeah, it does.
A loading dock.
Like a garage door.
Yeah. Anyway, don't forget to put your cards in the house box. And speaking of which, we're going to get going because I've got gentle yoga this morning that my rehab person has prescribed for me. So I'm slowly but surely making my way. Let's see here. I guess I'm going to keep pointing at myself. Three things that I really wanted to cover this one. Thank you. I was talking to Mary this morning, and I realized when I was doing the sales meeting, business meeting agenda yesterday and last night, that the last time we were all together was the awards event.
Yeah.
On the 27th or 28th of February with Kate. And, it's just so funny how you kind of forget things. But I'd gone to the doctor the Monday before. The doctor said, oh, yeah, you're fine. You're just coming back out with something. And I did that, obviously fairly significant event that Wednesday night. And Thursday and then Friday, I woke up with the rubbery legs and the weak hands and stuff. And I thought, what the heck is going on? But anyway, it's just been interesting to find out the things that I was doing that week and realizing that the thing was probably already on its way, during that week where things were starting to deteriorate. And that's right. I was at the puppet show at Trinity Presbyterian on Thursday, the preschool puppet show. And good morning, Becky. So anyway, and this morning is sort of just about things that I've kind of been thinking about and want to bring you guys back up to date with some things and remind you of things. I think it's always interesting to remember that it's good to be reminding people of stuff, because Chris and I, people will ask us questions about things and we'll go, well, we've sent that out, or we've told you about that, or, whatever. And unless it's something that you need sort of at that particular time, it sort of kind of goes over your head and you forget. And so just a couple of things, as you look at the bottom of the business meeting agenda, right underneath the topic, skill set and mindset are important. Good morning, Caitlin. But heart set is critical to your success. Remember, long-term success is never accidental. And what I'm going to do this morning is sort of accentuate that. But I think that whole heart set, where is your heart, is really critical to your success. Another way of thinking about that is, what is your why? Why are you in this business? Why do you do this? And obviously part of it is to make a living and pay bills and things like that. But if that's all it is, then at some point you're gonna burn out. You're gonna get weary. You're gonna get. But if you're doing it to serve people and care for people and help people do things, you've got a much better chance of not only long term being in business, but more successful, in my opinion. And you see it time and time again. And we're going to see it as we watch this video in a couple minutes. A great May, 26,570,068 in homes sold, which is 30% more than 2018. We did a little over 20 million during the month of May in 2018, so that's great. And the other piece of good news is that the surveys that we get, that we send out and come back in, we've got 100% rating through the end of May. That everyone that's come back has rated you either excellent or very good, which is no surprise to me, and hopefully is no surprise to you. I got a really nice letter, and they're not here. I doubt if they're live streaming this from the Caribbean, but I love the surveys and the check marks and the comments and things, but I also love when somebody literally attaches a letter because there's not enough room on the valuation to promote things. And it says, I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate you and your firm on the quality and expertise of two of your agents, Yona and Keith Smith. Their professionalism and dedication to making the sale of our Kent Store property went far beyond any we have ever experienced in prior property transfers. It goes on to talk about, and I love this because yesterday in AHA, we talked about preparing your home for sale. And one of the things we talked about is market knowledge. And Gavin was talking about the fact that oftentimes the way he gets the business is that people appreciate his honesty in regards to what needs to happen. Watching Caitlin the other day on I Love Seville on the Real Talk show on Friday. She talked about that in regards to sellers that she's working with. And this letter, substantiates and supports that. It says from the very first day that Yona contacted us, her knowledge of the potential, in parentheses, limited market for a property such as ours in Fluvanna County was evident in her detailed approach in developing a viable marketing plan. Unlike other agents we interviewed, she made no elaborate promises or assertions to gain a listing on our property. How awesome is, that's exactly what we talked about yesterday. And here I got this letter yesterday afternoon. She was very frank and straightforward in her assessment of the potential market and its inherent vagaries, which I don't even know what that word means. Her candor was much appreciated in our initial discussions and remains so till the actual sale is completed. Market knowledge, obviously she conveyed that. We talk all the time about building rapport, gaining credibility, showing people we care. The market knowledge was there, but not making elaborate promises where other agents did. And we talked about that yesterday in AHA, where agents will pretty much say whatever they can say to get the business. And then they'll try to walk you down in price or get you to do the things that need to be done to get that property fixed up prior to. Becky's got a listing that's going to be coming on here soon, where the seller is doing everything that she's told them to do, maybe even more so, because they want that property to be impeccable when it hits the market. And Becky's frustration, if she would tell you, is that let's go, we don't want to miss the market, right? But at the same time, they're doing the right things. They want the house the first time somebody shows it to be impeccable. So the point here is just to encourage you that that is the way to go about doing it. And I would submit that when you take on something where you take it on, that you compromise on what your standards are in regards to what the listing should look like, you're going to end up at the end of the day going, man, that was not a great experience. Whereas if you can really gain control and work with the folks and have them really understand and appreciate what you're talking about and them going along with it, most times that property's going to sell faster. It's going to sell for a better price. You're not going to have somebody that's constantly asking you, why isn't my house selling? All those different things. So, congratulations to Keith and Yona on that. But I would also say that that letter could be written about a lot of you guys. And that's why our surveys show 100% satisfaction, rating us excellent or very good. The other thing, just as a reminder, I'm not going to talk about this much, but just as a reminder again, we've got a bunch of these type of flyers that are inside the door as you go in the closet by Debbie's office that you can add to your presentations. These are on Dropbox, and so you can grab them out of there and print them and add them to your toolkit or however you do your CMAs through Paragon or whatever. Again, yesterday, I learned things all the time. Yesterday in AHA, we were talking about the different way of mailing things into a neighborhood. Chris is going to talk about that in a minute. But there are different types of ways of mailing. You mail it to the neighbors because you want everybody to get it. You mail it specifically to the owner and the address so that you find out whether or not those people still live there. You go into the Paragon and do a sheet for absentee owners, because that mailing is going to look different because they're not getting the information maybe locally that you have. And so to be sending information to absentee owners, especially people that are outside of Charlottesville, that may be the only touch that they have of what's going on in the market. Becky's doing some things in marketing up at Wintergreen. That's something that I would, encourage is look and see the absentee owners and have a mailing that goes to Richmond or Northern Virginia or whatever, because that's information that they'll be happy to have to know what's going on, good or bad, in the marketplace. So, and those types of things and putting that together makes you the expert, puts you in a position where you're providing information to folks in a different way. When you know it's an absentee owner, you're not only sending something out as an absentee owner to these different places, but you can also make an Excel spreadsheet for renters. Their renters in there because it's an absentee owner. So you send a different type of flyer. You get with Jay and do a rent versus buy analysis or whatever. And it's going just to those houses. That saves you money, and it makes it specifically targeted to a particular niche in the marketplace. So there are all sorts of different things. And I'm going to let Chris talk about that in just a minute. What I wanted to do this morning is I want you to watch this video. I'm going to let Chris do this. Maybe some of you may have already seen it, but this is the commencement address that President Jim Ryan did at the University of Virginia Wise a couple weeks ago. And it's on the 5 things he learned and that we can learn from the UVA basketball team winning the national championship. So let's pull that up and then I'll make some comments afterwards.
Given that you're graduating, I naturally want to share a few thoughts about basketball. I was planning to talk about something incredibly riveting like how law structures educational opportunity, but then luckily for you, something happened that caused me to change the topic of my speech. The UVA men's basketball team, as you may have heard, won the national championship. And then something else happened. People in Charlottesville lost their collective minds over this. After one game, a bride fresh from her wedding and still in her wedding dress ran to join the crowd on the street and crowd surfed in her wedding dress. After another, an alumni couple decided to change the name of their newborn son from Charlie to Kyle in honor of the UVA star player Kyle Guy. Even now, weeks later, people in Charlottesville can't stop talking about basketball. So that's what I'm going to talk about as well. Now, before you protest, I say this knowing that Wise is not Charlottesville, and I recognize that while some of you, the enlightened ones, are UVA fans, others in this building may prefer Kentucky, Tennessee, or dare I say it, even Virginia Tech. That's why my primary message to you is this: you're wrong. I'm kidding. I'm here to congratulate you, not to convert you. But I do want to talk about some of the lessons I learned while watching the UVA team make its improbable run through the tournament. Because these are lessons that apply no matter what team you're a fan of, or even if you couldn't care less about basketball. They are ideas above all and lessons above all about life, and ones that I believe will help you live the national championship version of your lives. So lesson number 1, if you make a mistake, own it and learn from it. Before I give you an example from the men's basketball team about what to do, let me give you an example of what not to do. It's from my life when I was a kid at 12. My friend Greg Iannuzzi and I decided we wanted to try to light a leaf on fire with a magnifying glass. That wasn't working so well, so we poured gasoline on the leaf. That worked really well. So well that a huge blaze erupted in my backyard. We finally managed to put out the blaze, but not before I singed off both of my eyebrows. When my dad got home from work that night, not surprisingly, he was a little puzzled by what he saw, and he brought me out to the backyard and pointed at the huge black spot and said, "Do you know anything about this?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, really. Why do you ask?" He said, "I don't know. I just think you started the day with eyebrows." That's an example of not owning up to your mistakes. Here's an example of owning up to them. Before UVA won the national championship, as you may know, in the tournament the year before, they were the #1 overall seed, and they lost to a 16 seed. This had never happened before in the history of the tournament. Instead of running away from this mistake, the coach, Tony Bennett, and the team owned it. And they used it all year to motivate themselves. They didn't shy away from it, but they learned from it. When you leave here, if you're like me, you're likely to make mistakes. You should expect to make mistakes, but you should also commit to learning from them, and you'll end up like the UVA basketball team, stronger than you were before. Which brings me to the second lesson. If you want to succeed, work hard even when no one's looking. This year, millions of people watched the UVA basketball team play, but far fewer watched them practice. If you did, the first thing you would have noticed is that the practice always looked the same with the same intensity, whether the team was preparing to play Morgan State or Duke. The second thing you would have noticed is that practice doesn't end at the same time for every player. Over the years, some of UVA's very best players have made a habit of staying after practice just to shoot. And during the summer after last year's historic loss, Ty Jerome, one of UVA's players, was in the gym so much that members of the strength staff had to throw him out on multiple occasions. I say this knowing that many of you understand this lesson intuitively. WISE, after all, was built by generations of coal miners who worked long hours, often in harsh conditions, to make a living and provide for their families. Even today, that work ethic is contagious. It's hard for anyone to come here and not notice it and not catch it. Consider the biochemistry students who barricade themselves all night in the Leonard Sandridge Science Center, or student athletes like Donovan Montague, Sidney Steinberg, and Kellen Larkin, who wake up before dawn and often come home after midnight, and in between manage to make the dean's list, take part in the day of service, run for office, plan events, and show up at research presentations to support their classmates. My simple advice to you today is to keep putting in the work, the effort, the dedication. In your life, there may be people who underestimate you because of where you're from or what they think they know about you. As someone who grew up in a blue-collar town and was a first-generation college student, I know this to be true. But I also know that you'll find that the harder you work, the luckier you become. The third lesson is that it shouldn't be all about you, but instead about the team. Jack Stalt's a 6'10" center from New Zealand and was the only senior on this year's UVA basketball team. He had been a long-time starter, but this year he played fewer minutes than he had in past seasons, in part because of the back injury, and in part because another big man, Jay Huff, began to play more. And yet, even as his role changed, Jack's attitude didn't. According to his teammate, Ty Jerome, if you ask Jack to play 30 minutes one game and 5 minutes the next, he'll always give it his all. I don't know of another guy in the country who would do this, but Jack does it every time. Off the court, Jack read to students at local schools, spent time in hospitals with sick kids. And when a teammate of his, Isaiah Wilkins, was struggling with depression so deep that he couldn't leave his room for 3 days, it was Jack who kept coming by and bringing him food and sitting with him in the dark. Later, Isaiah said he wouldn't have made it through college without his big-hearted friend. For Jack Salt, everything was about the team. And there are plenty of people here in WISE who live their lives the same way, as you know. Ask anyone what makes this place special, and you hear one word over and over again: family. Everyone knows, and more importantly, cares about everyone else. Colton Collins talks about Anita from the cafeteria, who always asks how he's doing and is quick with a hug when he needs one. John Reed Wilson points out that at bigger colleges, nobody really knows the chancellor's staff, but here she can go to Huda for anything. And when Bridget McCarty's grandmother passed away, professors and students surprised her by attending the funeral. Wherever you go, you'll have opportunities to improve your own lives, and of course, I hope you take them. But I also hope you remember that some of the greatest figures in history, and also some of the most beloved people at WISE, have been servant leaders. They've made a difference in the world by helping others, and I hope you will as well. Which brings me to the fourth lesson. By the way, there are 75 of these. I hope I got just 2 more. The fourth lesson: never give up. In the first game of this year's tournament, the UVA basketball team found itself in a familiar position, down by double digits to another 16 seed team, Gardner-Webb. In the locker room at halftime, Coach Bennett's message to his team was simple. He could accept defeat, but he couldn't accept anything less than every single thing they had to give. In other words, don't even think about giving up. And they didn't. In the second half, they scored more than twice as many points as Gardner-Webb and won the game. And they kept on not giving up the entire tournament. These are the last 3 games of the tournament. Against Purdue, they were down by 3 points with less than 6 seconds left. Against Auburn, they were down by 2 points with 3 seconds left. And against Texas Tech in the final game, they were down by 3 with 16 seconds left. They won all 3 games because they never gave up. I'm sure all of you at some point have been told to settle or maybe even to give up completely. I hope you ignore those voices. The fact that you're graduating today means that you've already chosen more than once not to give up on yourselves. And I hope you never give up on Southwest Virginia either, because I believe no one should give up on the places and the people they love. And there is so much to love about this place, beginning with the people. The final lesson is that when you do succeed, give back. Many of you probably know this story, but it's worth retelling. About a month ago, the UVA-wise softball team was on their way to a game in West Virginia when their bus caught on fire. Thankfully, no one was injured, but the bus and some of the team's equipment were damaged beyond repair. As soon as word got out about the accident, the rest of the community swung into action. Whatever people could give, they gave, offering to donate everything from new uniforms to a Chick-fil-A lunch. At the time, UVA had just held a watch party for the title game. So when word reached Charlottesville, our athletic director, Carla Williams, sent $10,000 raised from concessions to the team. There's a verse from Galatians that says, and I'm paraphrasing here, "Don't grow weary in doing good, for in due time you will reap a harvest." I believe this is true, but I also believe that you should continue to do good even after, and especially after, you reap a harvest. This belief is grounded on two principles. First, that with success comes responsibility, and second, that all of us are here only because of the generosity of those who came before us. While we may not be able to pay them back directly, we can do our part for someone else. Bridget McCarty, the student I talked about earlier with respect to her grandmother's funeral, grew up about 20 minutes from here. It was only after traveling abroad to South Africa and Peru that she fully appreciated what Appalachia taught her: to persevere, to treat others with kindness, to be respectful to those who don't have as much. Now she wants to use her experiences to help people back home. They supported me, she says, and now I want to give back. For the rest of your life, and through all your success, I hope you remember to give back, including to this place and these people who have given you so much. In closing, I want to thank you for inviting me and for tolerating my UVA basketball fandom. I hope it's clear by now that I believe the qualities that made this year's team so special are the same ones that make the college at Wise so special, and the same ones that will help you find success and fulfillment once you leave here. It may take time, but if you own and learn from your mistakes, if you work hard even when no one's looking, if you focus not on yourself but on the team, if you never give up, and if you remember to give back, I'm confident you will hold this place in your heart and you'll make the most of what the poet Mary Oliver aptly calls your one wild and precious life. Congratulations, class of 2019, and good luck.
He is a very gifted speaker. You can go back, you can Google, he did a commencement address at Harvard a couple years ago on what is your why. He also has a really humorous way of talking about the question what. And he talks about his, when he says something to kids and they're not really paying attention, then he says something that gets their attention. They go, wait, what? And then he talks about that being a teaching moment when somebody says, wait, what? But the reason that I heard this, I forget, somebody must have sent it to me, but I listened to this right after the commencement, and I just thought that, yes, University of Wise, learning things about the 5 things to learn, but I think that it's very, very apropos in regards to us, in regards to what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. And just some real quick things from my standpoint. When you make a mistake, own it and learn from it. When we can do that, when we do something as it relates to a buyer or seller and it didn't go well, to be able to own it and learn from it and apologize and move forward with it is so much better than trying to pretend like it didn't happen. we talk all the time about making the hard phone calls first in the day, because what ends up happening is if we don't, we get tired throughout the day because we know we got to do this thing, but we keep on procrastinating because we don't. Whereas we'll just do it right from the beginning. Whether it goes good or bad, it's over with. I've dealt with it and I'm going to move on to something else. So that whole aspect of when we make mistakes, owning it and learning from it, I think it's a great lesson. Working hard even when no one's looking. Tony Bennett, when he was leaving after the national championship, he and Dabo Swinney, who's the Clemson football coach who won the national championship, Dabo Swinney encouraged Tony in one way. He said, look, I've won 2 of these now. And the thing that I've learned most is I want the light to shine through me versus the spotlight that's shining on me. And I think, again, that with that servant-hearted that he talks about in the attitude, when we're trying to be the people that we want to be and we're serving, and we're just trying to let the light shine through us versus waiting for the accolades or adulations or the recognition or the pat on the back or whatever, ultimately your attitude is different and the way that you live your life impacts others. So, when you learn a mistake, owning it, working hard even when no one's looking. Don't make it all about you, but focus on the importance of the team. Again, an African proverb that Tony mentioned years ago is, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And again, I think that you see that all the time here at Roy Wheeler, that there's always somebody saying, how can I be of help to you? Reaching their hand down and saying, let me help you learn this, or let me help you talk about or figure out how to do it this way, or because they've been there and somebody else did it for them at some point. And so it's going back to the number 5, which I'll get to, but it's going back to, I want to give back just as other people have given to me. Own the mistakes, work hard, don't make it about you, but focus on the important team. Never give up. And then the thing that I think about, I don't know where I heard this for the first time, but I've heard it a number of times since. It's not about the 100th strike of the rock that breaks it apart. It's about the 99 before. That you hit that thing, you hit that thing, you hit that thing. At some point, you prospect into a geographic neighborhood, you do mailing, you do this, you do this. At some point, you hold an open house, you do the right things for the open house. At some point, something comes that generates business for yourself. And it wasn't just that one thing, it was the things that you've done before to cause that to happen. So never give up. You never know what strike of the rock is going to break it apart and let you see the things you need to see. The other thing about never giving up goes along with a TED Talk that Tony Bennett shared with his team that his wife heard, and she shared it with him. And he, after they lost to UMBC, and that summer he heard this TED Talk and he shared it with the team, and it became a rallying cry for them. And I'll send you the link to that when I send you the business being agenda electronically. But the quote in it is, if you handle adversity well, it'll give you a ticket to go places you have never been before. If you handle adversity well, it'll give you a ticket to go places you've never been before. And that can be true with your business, and it can be true in your own personal life. And for me, having just been through and continuing to go through some adversity, I truly believe that. And it was something that it became a focus for me. I said that to myself all the time when I was lying in bed, not being able to move. When I was in the rehab, starting to move and do things, I just continually focused on the fact that if I can handle this adversity well, it's going to give me a ticket to go places I've never been before. There's a song called Mountains and Valleys, and it's the same thing, that you may get the opportunity to be on the mountaintop, and from my standpoint of being a person of faith, that God's with me there and probably took me there, but in the valleys, he also reminds me that he's there with me. And so whether it's in the highs or the lows, he's with me. And when you watch this video by Don Davis, it's about the story that you tell. It's about what happens to you in adversity and how you tell the story that ultimately takes you places that you never knew you could go. And just yesterday, a fellow passed away, Professor Hauser, who Alex knew. And David Callahan and Alex this morning showed me in the obituary where he had suffered from Guillain-Barré back in 1967. And what he did once he recovered was he volunteered to go into UVA Hospital and talk with other Guillain-Barré patients and show them that you will get better. And I'm a great example of this, that I was here and now I'm here. And, you know, I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I emailed my neurologist this morning and I said, how do I do that? Who do I need to talk to at UVA that I can be put on a list that when somebody gets admitted with this crazy syndrome that I had, that I could come in and be a person of encouragement? And, you know, I tell you that not to, again, pat myself on the back. I tell you that because I think it's going to give me a ticket to places I've never been before. That I'm going to go do something that's going to be uncomfortable, but it's a place that I can go and serve and give back because so many people did that for me over these last, you know, 3 months. And that goes on to the last thing. When you do experience success, give back in ways that make a difference. And I think we just do that over and over again here. We're constantly looking for ways of giving back and making a difference. And I'm experiencing success in my own life personally from you know, recovery. And so I think I can give back in ways that can make a difference for others. So anyway, what I'd encourage you to do is watch this again. Watch the YouTube talk, Don Davis. When I read this quote, the TED Talk goes in a completely different direction than I thought it was going to go. And the guy's very gifted. He's a storyteller, obviously. He's a TEDx guy. But I would just have you watch both of those with a piece of paper and just take some notes. Just write down things that come up on your radar screen as you think about them. And then figure out, how do I implement these into my life? How do I implement these in my business? And I think ultimately what it's going to do is make you a better person. And it's going to make you more successful in your business. So anyway, just some thoughts for you there. Let me just touch base on a couple of things. I'm going to bring Chris up to talk about a couple of things as well. First, take a look. It came out yesterday. The June training calendar is out. So take a look at that, and hopefully you can put these in your calendar and take advantage of them. And we'd love to have you come to as many as possible. We also put the future dates to remember at the bottom of the agenda. Obviously, secondly, the June newsletter will be out soon. We'll get you that link that you can post on your Facebook business pages. You can send out to your sphere of influence, and we're doing it. A topic, the article is what a seller needs to do when they're thinking about selling their home. And so we'll get that out to you guys in the next few days. And again, please copy the link and send it out to your clients. Another thing you can really do for us as a company, but also Caitlin as an individual, is Caitlin was one of the 5 people nominated for Seaville Best Of. She's one of 5 realtors that made the cut. And so if you can go into the Roy Wheeler Facebook page, we've got the link there. You can click on there and go in, and we'd love for you to not vote for us as a real estate company, because we made the cut as well, but also vote for Caitlin in regards to that, because that's what makes the difference. You know, voting for people, and then if you have the ability, share that out to other friends and say, hey, please vote for us as a company. And if you feel so inclined, vote for Caitlin as the agent from our company. Becky posted something really, really sweet about Caitlin in that regard, and that was again, team and going farther. So I really appreciated that. So what's the deadline for that? When is the voting over? Do you know? Caitlin, do you know?
I think it's longer than I thought. I'm gonna say it's mid-month, mid-June maybe. Started the 29th to like maybe the 17th. I don't know why.
Okay. Well, anyway, if you can go on there and do that. And also post the newsletter and that kind of thing. It works well for all of us. 21st. Okay. And then also don't forget that Justine Nix is client coordinator. She does a great job. If you are processing paperwork and stuff and it's not like what you'd like to do, I would get with Justine, because she'll do all that for you. And she does a great job. I've seen her do even a better job now that Keith and Yona have been gone, because I get emails in regards to things that she's doing while they're gone, and I see all the different things that she does to dot the I's and cross the T's.
In Europe right now, and I'm helping sort of boots on the ground. Unbelievable. I had no idea just what she does, and she's incredible at administering and just making sure that everything is.
Yeah, and it's really reasonable, and you don't pay unless it closes. should you know, work on it for 30, 60 days. If it doesn't close, you have to get paid. I think it's $200, I think, per transaction. 300, yeah. But, you know, for some of us, that is liberating to not have to be dealing with that. And she reminds you about the dates that we talk about all the time in training in regards to finance contingency or home inspection contingency deadlines or things like that, termite, well, Stephanie, she reminds you about those things as it's going through. It's really pretty extraordinary. And you can also be rooting for her. Alex's nephew, Justine's son, is competing again for the state championship in tennis out at Western Albemarle. We're going to cheer for him, even though he's going to Tech. I just don't know how that happened, but anyway, we're going to be cheering for them. Western Albemarle, by the way, is having an extraordinary spring. They got so many teams in quarterfinals, semifinals. I mean, both lacrosse, the men's lacrosse team lost last night, but both lacrosse teams were in the semis. Soccer, tennis, it's pretty amazing what they're doing out there. And then again, tomorrow, the general membership meetings at Farmington from 8:30 to 10. If you haven't signed up, go on the car.com site and register for that. Before I bring up Chris, Jay, any updates other than rates are going down?
Yeah, I've moved rates down, so you're welcome.
That's so nice of you. I mean, talk about servant-hearted and wanting what's best for everybody.
Exactly, that's what I do. And we're gonna have our ice cream learner on the 20th. So first one of the summer. Pieces won't be ready by then, I don't think.
What? Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, exactly. And again, don't forget the charitable aspect of Movement Foundation, which obviously is a nonprofit that runs off of Movement Mortgage. I was watching a video the other day, and the amount of money that's going into different communities because of Movement's success is pretty amazing. I don't think there's any other mortgage company that is doing that kind of thing. There are people that probably haven't as much success, but the amount of money that they take out of their return on investment and invest back into communities is amazing. They really are making a positive difference. So, you know, keep that, not only get great service, great rates, but you know that you can tell your clients, and you know, they're giving back in a really positive way. Kate, updates on you guys and new homes and stuff?
Yeah, we have our Belvedere model. It's going to be opening hopefully about 2 weeks. So we're really excited about that. We'll probably get an email from me about the opening for it. Also, if you have any clients that are interested in out-of-house townhomes, we're taking that into Old Trail, and we've got our first building walkable. And the views from those lots are really great.
Oh, wow.
In the upper 4s to lower 5s. And then the new section of Lenore is finally completed, so it's easy to go and show people. And then I only have one left in our bounds, so if you have any clients that will list there.
Yeah, one villa left, right? Yeah.
Open house, in unit open house this weekend, Saturday, Sunday. I'll be there.
And what about Cascadia?
Cascadia, we have one quick delivery. We have a house on Brookshire, main little master, beautiful views that'll be ready in October. And then we've got some other to-be-built home sites that we're looking at end of the year delivery.
And how much is the one the quick delivery?
$624.9.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. All right. Mr. Sanders.
Two quick things. One, Leading RE put out a new agent syllabus. It just came out about a week ago. They have a bunch of new classes in there. If you need help getting into that, you don't know how, or you just want a tutorial to go through the learning database, just let me know. I'm happy to walk you through. But I printed one out for everybody. It's pretty easy to get into. And they're like 5 or 10 minutes each. They're pretty useful. I think a lot of people, Caitlin's done quite a few. Some other people have. The other thing is mailings. A lot of agents have done either postcards or mailings lately. Caitlin's done some bifolds. Becky's doing, I think, like monthly newsletter type sendouts. Alex has been sending postcards, and he got his first callback, I think, on it. I think is what he said. Yeah, there it is.
Awesome.
So a lot of people. Michelle's been doing monthly mailings to her whole contact list. She's been printing out invites to her open houses for Power Region, actually taking them through neighborhoods and putting them in. And she's gotten calls off of those, she said, and people showing up. So they seem to be working. I have a bunch of postcard designs saved up, and I'm happy to custom build whatever you want to send out. Help you send it. So just come see me if you're interested.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And also, again, don't forget that with the leading RE stuff, it's not just about you being able to refer people out, although that's great. And I think more and more are top of mind in regards to if you're working with somebody that's moving out of the area, that one of the things you should be asking, where are you moving? Do you need some help with that? That kind of thing. That's awesome. That's great. But there's also tremendous marketing abilities to add to your listing presentation, i.e. the flyer that Chris can get you that is a bar graph that shows leading RE brokers sell more properties than any other franchise, any other organization in the country by far. The numbers are staggering. I don't think we've seen 18s yet. That should be out soon. But whether it be Keller, whether it be Sotheby's, whether it be whatever, leading RE brokers sell more than anybody else. Secondly, when your listings go on, that's another place that the IDX sends our listings so that your listings show up on the leadingre.com website. So any leading RE broker who sends people to that website or whatever and says, well, look in Charlottesville or Virginia or whatever, your listing will show up there. And then the other thing that we forget about is if you go in there and sign in, and I think with the same company code, they have city by city comparisons. And Kate, for you, like you get somebody moving from out of town, from Lexington to Kentucky or whatever, you can literally go in and print out a city to city comparison of Charlottesville and Lexington, Kentucky. They'll talk about median pricing, they'll talk about income, and they'll talk about schools. And it's a really cool thing to have. And so like if you're sitting in an open house and you find out somebody's from out of state, oh, you're from such and such, I've got a really great tool that I can provide for you. If you give me your email address, I'll send it to you tomorrow or this afternoon or whatever. And you go in and just print that out and send that to them. And if you're thinking about Charlottesville, and maybe let's say they're considering between Charlottesville and Asheville. Well, you can do one from Lexington and Asheville, or you can do Lexington and Charlottesville. I spoke at a reunion panel. I've done it, I think now 7 years in a row, called UVA, the Encore Years, and which means old people. But anyway, it's amazing that 60, 70, 80 people show up at this thing every Friday afternoon at 1:30 to learn more about Charlottesville. And this year specifically, I thought we were not going to have anybody in there because we were competing against a basketball panel where they had a bunch of former UVA basketball players talking about basketball, and it was in the same building, same time. And they did. They had 200 and some folks there, but we still had 60 or 70 people in the room wanting to learn about Charlottesville. And what was interesting about that was every year I've talked about one of the things that's amazing about Charlottesville is for a city our size, we have two preeminent hospitals. And of course, I've then said, and I've only been able to speak from watching, but now I can speak from personal experience that we have really good medical care here. I've just experienced it in a way that I never thought I would experience. But the point being is that I was able to say to them, if you're interested, let me know where you live and I'll put together a city by city comparison for you. And then the other thing, and there's some out here, you can grab them as an idea that Chris and I did, is instead of coming up with some fancy, fancy brochure or whatever, which is something that we've done in the past, I just said, Chris, do me a favor and create a color flyer for me with the front of our website, the homepage of our website, and then key things to do in Charlottesville on the back. And I gave this to all the people that came into the seminar. And I said, all you need to know is at roywheeler.com. And you can find out all the things you need to do in Charlottesville on roywheeler.com. And so everybody left with one of these. And who knows? Hopefully some people will reach out and give us a little bit of information in regards to who we are and what kind of reputation we have. So this is real easy to do. Just say to Chris, and this can be something that you have at open houses. Have something, and then whatever you want to have on the back, other properties that have sold in that area or whatever, but you're pointing them toward the website on the one side, and on the other side, whatever it is you're trying to communicate in open house, it's a really nice item of value to hand off and very easy to do, and you can personalize it. So keep that in mind as well. Other things that are on your mind or questions?
Go ahead.
I like the, a few weeks back, you inquired our open house participation. I'd encourage you to, ask that question quickly. I think that's helpful to us doing open houses if they're not well attended and or.
Yeah, I try to do that. I go into the paper or the thing that we send out by email about open houses, and I try to email people over the weekend saying, hey, and let Chris and I know. So yeah, because it does help. It helps us know what's working or what's not. Mother's Day Sunday probably isn't a great time to have an open house. We've learned that. That was probably easy, but we learned it. But the other thing that we learned is that it only takes one. It does show, I think, Chris, you tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, but it does show that the print media still is important as it relates to open houses. And if you look in the Daily Progress, we're the only ones, for the most part, that have our Sunday opens in there. And in fact, almost all the other companies are not in there on Sunday anymore. Long Cost will have something every so often. But we do get people that come from those open houses. And so, just keep that in mind, but thank you and keep us focused on that, because those are the kind of things that feedback is good for us to know what's working, what's not working. One thing, speaking of not working, one thing that we have done is we've closed the Wintergreen office. For those of you who have followed along with that, the resort had just made it incredibly impossible for us. They just continued to fight us after the resort was bought, and they bought Wintergreen Real Estate. So they moved us off the mountain. We went into space that seemed to be working, but then they made us change our name, and they were going to sue us in regards to that. I pretty much had gotten legal advice that our name was fine, that we had done everything the right way and whatever, but the time they were going to spend a lot of money. And so we ultimately just made the decision to close the office. We were on a month-to-month situation, and is furniture still out there?
That's all done.
Okay, we did have the Wintergreen office on the front porch for a little bit. But anyway, Becky's working in Wintergreen, Gavin is working, but everybody's come back into this office except for Lori Powell. Lori is now working out of the Zion Crossroads office. She lives out that way. We're still marketing our ways up there, but it just got, unfortunately, they won. The big guy won, and they got what they wanted. And we fought a hard fight, but ultimately it just, it just was time to do that. So, and we still have people that are focused in on that area. If you're not interested in going up to Wintergreen, I know Becky would be happy to work with people that you have, Gavin, Lori Powell. So, please keep that in mind.
Michael,
Yeah.
I just would add that when I went back in to refine my mailing list for this target mailing, it was just really funny when you go into the Paragon and then you click Nelson County and then you click GIS and you're looking at the joiners and who I want to not mail to because I know they're listed.
Right.
And it just provoked so many names of who was that guy whose lot I had listed 10 years ago. What was his name? Why did I leave him off my center of influence list? All of a sudden, I think, yeah, he was on this street. Click. There it is. Another click. His present mailing address. Click. He's back on my center of influence.
That's awesome.
So it just took some time at the computer, but I just think our name recognition over there is still going to pay off. Because like Frank said yesterday, well, maybe now we're the alternative.
Yeah, and that's what, before we closed the office, the other decision we made is that we went back to Roy Wheeler, serving the Wintergreen Nellisford marketplace, because the Roy Wheeler name is a good name, and we felt like the agents were pretty strong on the fact that they felt like that was the best way to go. So right now, I don't have to change anything because on our license, you have a doing business as on the bottom of it. Which allows you to, for us to market in the Wintergreen marketplace if we want to. So nothing's really changed other than the fact we just don't have an office there. And outside of being on the Mountain Inn, there's no office on the mountain. So, we don't feel like we really lost anything there. So anyway, IOUs, Barb, you want a $2 lottery ticket? Logan want a $1 lottery ticket? Ned won a $1 lottery ticket, and Alex won a $1 lottery ticket. I didn't get to the Shell station to get them, but I will. And thank you for being here. Have a great day.
Cost a dollar, or is it like your cost a dollar, or is it, or can you win like $100? You don't know.